All right, so check this out. We're going deep on a hypothetical concept album, and this one could be huge. Black Thought, Posdnuos, tackling the idea of a blank state. What do you think?
Man, that's a pairing. When you talk about Black Thought, you talk about lyrics, you talk about just wow, right? And Posdnuos always brings that depth, that philosophical edge that could really make something special with this.
For real. And blank state, that's not just some throwaway title, you know? It's like
Yeah.
stripping everything back. Who are you at your core? And then the big question, who do you choose to become?
Yeah, it's heavy stuff, man. Almost like setting an existential crisis to music. But that's what's so great about these two. They can handle those big questions, the weight of it all, but still make it raw, make it real.
Okay, so the album, it kicks off with a dream. What's the vibe setting the stage for this whole blank state journey?
A dream. It's like that initial spark, right? That feeling, we've all had it, of like anything is possible before life, before life happens. But, and this is where it gets interesting, the very next track, Fool's Gold.
Oh, wow. So it goes there right away. From dreaming big to, what, confronting the traps, the things we chase that maybe we shouldn't?
Exactly. And sonically, I'm thinking we go from these big, open melodies, hopeful, to something, I don't know, a little rougher around the edges, like disillusionment creeping in. They're setting up that tension between what we aspire to and what we actually get.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
And then we hit the title track, Blank State. This has got to be a pivotal moment, right? Like, this is it, the core of the whole thing.
Yeah. 100%. If a dream is you lining up for the race, and Fool's Gold is like that first hurdle, right, blank state, that's the moment you realize it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You peel back those layers, you face the illusions, and bam, there you are, just you, laid bare. Intense, right?
No kidding. Musically, you think they go for something stripped back, vulnerable.
Honestly. Knowing them, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just them, raw. Vocals, minimal music, letting the lyrics hit you right between the eyes, almost like spoken word, Yeah. Think Black Thought on Streams of Thought, that kind of honesty.
Okay, so they've stared into the abyss, right? This blank state, it's right there. So what then? Do they crawl back to the comfort of those illusions? Or
That's where you got the juice now comes in, and man, this track, this was huge, because it's not just about realizing your power, it's about owning it. It's saying, okay, I see myself, flaws and all, now I build from here.
I love that they reference Juice, that movie. It's such a powerful metaphor for taking control of your own narrative. It's like they're saying, we've stripped away all the BS, all the external pressures. Now it's our time. We write the story from here on out.
And musically, man, that shift, that's got to be reflected in the sound, right? I'm picturing hard-hitting beats, maybe even a little defiant, Like this is them stepping into their power, not just as artists, but as people who've been through it, come out the other side.
Right, so they're fired up, they're empowered. Where does this newfound sense of agency, I guess, where does it lead them?
Well, hold on. It's not all smooth sailing from here. Bring You Back, the next track. That one jumped out at me. Because it's about the past, the influence it has, even when you're trying to build something new.
So even in this blank state, you can't escape where you came from.
It's like they're acknowledging that, right?
Yeah.
The past, it shapes us. Maybe this track is them working through that, their own influences, musical, personal, all of it. Because you carry that with you.
I wonder if we'll hear that in the sound. Some old school hip hop vibes, like weaving those influences into the production.
Man, that would be something else.
Yeah.
Because it really underlines that idea, right? We evolve, we change, but we carry those pieces of the past with us.
And then from there, we go even deeper into relationships with sibling rivalries. Competition, sure, but what else is going on there?
That's the thing, right? Competition, it can push you forward, but it can also tear you down. Maybe it's about their own dynamic working together, or maybe it's bigger than that. Like a commentary on the music industry itself, how it chews people up, spits them out.
And knowing how these two work with words, this one could get seriously complex. I'm picturing some lyrical gymnastics happening here, almost like they're sparring with each other, but through rhymes.
Oh yeah, a showcase for their different styles. Maybe even highlighting how those differences, those contrasting perspectives, are actually what makes their collaborations so dope.
And from the complexities of relationships to facing your own demons, Psycho and Cycles, that one sounds like it's going to get heavy.
It does, right? This is where blank state, this idea, it gets really personal. I'm imagining Black Thought, just raw, confronting those internal struggles.
Yeah.
We all have them, those cycles we get stuck in.
Makes you think, right? This whole blank state concept, when it comes to mental health, what does that even mean? Is it about silencing those voices in your head? Or learning to live with them?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I don't think they'll pretend to have the answers. If anything, they'll dig into the mess, the fact that it's not always pretty, trying to find that balance.
Man, it's a journey so far, isn't it? From chasing those dreams to like really going inward, facing those darker parts of ourselves. Let's talk about Day Dukes. Just that title, man. Legacy, fathers, how our past shapes us. It's all right there.
And it fits so well with this whole blank state concept, right? It makes you think, like, how much of a blank slate do we actually start with? When you think about the generations that came before, the influence they have.
Right, we inherit it all, the good and the bad, those patterns, the hurts, but also the strength, the resilience. This track, it could be about honoring where you come from, even as you're figuring out your own way.
And sonically, maybe this is where we hear a different side of them. Maybe something soulful, almost bluesy, to really capture that connection between generations.
Okay, from legacy and family, we go to dances with shiny suits. All right, now this one has me curious. Feels different, lighter maybe.
Dances with shiny suits. I'm thinking this one might be a little tongue-in-cheek, like a playful jab at the music industry, all the shallow stuff, the pressure to fit in, to sell out.
Man, Thought, Posdnuos, they've been in the game a long time. They've seen it all. They could really offer a unique take on that whole world.
Exactly. It could be about holding on to your integrity when you're surrounded by all the glitz and glam. Maybe even a critique of like how chasing success can sometimes make you lose yourself.
I'm picturing something high energy for this one, musically. Maybe even a little satirical, They could have some fun with it.
Oh, totally. This could be that moment on the album where they let loose a little, poke fun at the industry, but not in a bitter way. More like they've been there, done that, and they're still standing,
From the dance floor to demolition. Demolition, that sounds intense.
It does, right? Yeah. And this is where blank state, that idea, it gets really literal. I'm imagining these hard-hitting beats, like mirroring those lyrics about destroying and rebuilding.
So if blank state was stripping it back, peeling away the layers, then demolition, this is like taking a wrecking ball to the whole damn structure.
Exactly. Out with the old, in with the new.
Right.
This could be the most aggressive track on the whole album. You know? That feeling of, catharsis. Like breaking free from everything that's holding you back.
Okay, listeners, buckle up because we're going deep now. Flights and pains. This one feels heavy.
It does, doesn't it? If demolition is the external stuff, tearing it all down, then plights and pains, this is what's going on inside. Facing those hard truths, those painful parts of being human, both individually and as a society.
And knowing these two, they're not going to sugarcoat it. They're going to go there. Those wounds, those scars, they're all part of the story.
It's about acknowledging the darkness, but not letting it consume you. Finding a way to move forward, with resilience, with hope. Musically, I'm feeling something soulful here, maybe even a little gospel influence, to really get that emotional depth across.
Man, if they nail this one, it could be incredibly powerful. Okay, from the depths of pain, we come to that lady joint. This feels like a completely different vibe.
Right. That lady joint, it sounds like a love song, right?
Right.
But knowing Thought and Posdnuos, it's not going to be your typical lovey-dovey thing.
For sure. It's got to be deeper than that. Maybe it's about finding connection, finding someone to share the load with when the world feels chaotic.
Or maybe it's about what you learn from heartbreak, from loss. Remember, blank state. It's not just about building something new. It's about letting go too, making space for what comes next.
Musically, this could be where we hear their softer side come out. Maybe some jazz influences, a smooth groove to balance out all the intensity we've heard so far. Man, we've covered some serious ground here. They're taking us on a trip with this one, Dreams, pain, even throwing some shade at the music biz. It's a lot.
It is. And it's funny, you think about that lady joint. It's about love, about connection. But it still fits into this whole blank state thing.
Hussa.
Because even when you're with someone, even in those moments, you're still, you're still figuring yourself out.
Yeah. It's like they say, you don't really know someone till you've seen them at their worst. Maybe love, even heartbreak. Those can be blank state moments too. You're forced to rebuild.
Exactly. You got to face your own weaknesses, how much you can take, how much you can forgive. That's growth, man. That's the real deal.
And speaking of growth, plug in this track. It sounds like an homage, like a nod to the journey itself.
I think you're right. It's like they're shouting out everything that got them to where they are, the people, the experiences, the music, all of it. Those roots, they keep you grounded even when you're reaching for something new.
And with Thought, Posdnuos, those roots go way back. They've been a part of hip-hop life. forever, pushing boundaries, doing their own thing.
No doubt. So plug in. Maybe it's them reflecting on that, paying respect to the folks who inspired them, but also celebrating how far they've come.
I wonder if we'll hear it in the music, you know, samples from their old stuff, or maybe even collabs with some of those artists they came up with.
Man, that would be wild. That would really hammer home that idea of legacy, you know, passing it on, but also still carrying those influences with you.
All right, so we reached the final track, Donut Hill. Okay, what's the deal with this title? Break it down for me.
Donut Hill, this is where it all comes together, man. The whole blank state thing, the cycles, the tearing down, the building back up, the constant changing. Right, the donut, it's a circle, it's never ending.
I'm getting that. So it's like, no matter what you go through, you always end up back where you started, but maybe, hopefully, a little wiser, you know?
Yeah, man. Blank state, it's not some destination you arrive at, it's a process. It's happening all the time. You peel back the layers, you face those demons, you rebuild, and then guess what? You do it all over again.
So after this whole deep dive, what's the takeaway? What's the message of the blank state?
For me, it's this. Growth. It's not a straight line, it's a journey. You got to embrace the unknown, face the stuff that makes you uncomfortable, and just keep trying to be better, you know?
And you got to do it with, like, your whole heart, man, with soul, with that fire in your belly.
Like Black Thought, like Posdnuos. They've shown us how it's done. This whole album, even if it's just a what if, it shows you what they can do, how they make you think. It's more than music, you know?
Exactly. It's like a conversation starter. It makes you look inward, connect with something bigger, and who knows, maybe someday, this collaboration, it'll actually happen.
Here's hoping, man. In the meantime, we keep listening, we keep searching, and when those blank state moments come, and they will, we face them head on.